That completes Vanessa's wonderful visualization of our new creedal statement, and I thank her so much. And thank you, Mary. Interesting photographs to see the singers going right up to the rafters. That's kind of like the seats I can afford watching the Blue Jays. When you hear the word mystic, what comes to mind? Do you think of Hildegard von Bingen with her imagery? Or Wendell Berry, modern American still alive? We are called somehow to be mystics in all the different ways that exist between Hildegard and Wendell, and that's quite a spectrum. Thursday, I want to interject, is the International Day for Awareness of all those people, those hundreds of thousands around the world who have lost their lives to overdose. And the hashtag is, we see you. Now, Meister Eckhart, also a very famous mystic of many hundreds of years ago, said this: "The eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, one love." I was told that the word namaste means that the spirit in me honors the spirit in you, and so I say namaste. The holy light within me sees and honors the holy light within you. You know how it goes when you're preparing for a speech or something, sort of things keep repeating and you're sometimes surprised. And what kept coming up this week for me was the hashtag, we see you, but in other contexts. Recently, Vancouver had their Pride Parade, more recently than ours in Victoria. They're not all the same weekend, and Toronto's was another weekend. And We See You was part of those Pride celebrations right across our country. So Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan priest, talks about how we see each other, even those who are marginalized. And seeing means not just vision, but actually being fully present in that sense of namaste. Shalom or aloha might mean, we see you. And so we have purple ribbons on the front of our church today to say, we see you, to the families who have lost so much, to one of the harshest attitudes in our society today, which is against the people who are addicted to those substances that are so poisoned. And tragically, society demonizes and destroys the humanity of those that they don't understand. Jesus, our light, was so forthright when he challenged people who were judging other people. You remember when he got angry and said, like, you're talking about a speck in my eye, what about the log in yours? Right? He was always so keenly aware of that judgmental, harsh, stigmatizing attitude. And realizing that until people honor that truth that he's teaching us, we will never heal that harmful vision. When Jesus called himself the light of the world, this has been taught for a long time, but Rohr says it so well, and we read that book, The Universal Christ. I'm sure many of you still have it on your shelves. Jesus isn't trying to draw attention to himself. That wasn't his MO. He just knew that we look at him, we will be drawn to want to be like him, because as the true compass, it is an undeniable tug for us. So then how did Jesus see? What's the hashtag he saw us? What does that mean? It means it was not to constrict us when he saw us. It wasn't to disregard part of the group. He saw in a way that expanded who could say they belonged with him, in a way that included and didn't push away. And so when we seek so fervently to be caught up, even for just minutes of an entire day, to be caught up in God's love, we are seeing, we hope, this beauty and goodness in people that before we couldn't see it. So that we are saying, I am now learning to see with my heart, which is certainly a namaste, aloha moment. So in that book, The Universal Christ, remember how Roar always talked about God being so relational. It's all about relationship. Not all. It's mostly much about relationship. God is, of course, our creator. But it is an invitation to ask ourselves, am I seeing with the eye of the heart? Can I look differently while I'm driving down the street, down, say, a couple of blocks to our south along Pandora? So if it is the same eye that God sees us and we see others, it would be, wouldn't it be, undisputably an eye of love. So when we are invited to listen to that story that you read responsibly with Pat about the call of Isaiah, it is an invitation then to respond. And that's certainly a mystical call because we're talking about seraphs and hot coals, and all that rich imagery invites us to imagine what is that for us to be touched, to be called, to be almost ignited by that hot coal, so much so that our response is to say, you need somebody? I'm right here. Send me out. That's that touch, that ignition from that hot coal. That's a very, of course, mystical image. It's not literal. It gets so rich when we allow it to be free. And imagine, what is that for us? What is that for you? What did it feel like to be touched by that hot coal? To be ignited that you responded, send me. You know what? I can make cookies for those families for Thursday's gathering. I can wear a purple ribbon. I can challenge it when somebody says fentanyl is all about people in the sewer and the drugs downtown. I can remind them that the cost to the overdose crisis in Canada starts at 11 years old. And the majority are not dying on the streets. They're dying in their homes, in their cars, or maybe their offices and their hotel rooms. That's what it means to be touched by that hot coal in this instance for us this week, is to see with the eye of love and to seek to tell the truth about what the overdose crisis has done to our beautiful children, our brothers and sisters, even our parents and grandparents. We will no longer be content to see it relegated to them, but we will own, as Hannah began the service, the us of this crisis, the us of this week. So it's not new to be asked to hear the call. The radicalization of that Isaiah responded to is it's not asking people to be priests or God help you ministers. It's asking us to respond where we are, with what we are, with who we are today. It's not about taking more training. It's about opening our hearts to be that mystical person in response to God. So if you think, well, I wonder who's going to respond to that, I wonder what calling that is, please know it's yours. So our challenge, and it is an invitation, is to remember that the people involved, they're our people, because they're God's people. They may speak English or not. They may live in Canada or not. But when we see them with the eye of love, you know that somewhere Isaiah is smiling because he said, you see them? They're willing to be sent. I know how that feels, he says. It is life-changing. May it be so for us. Amen.